June 3rd.
Shaken.
And hey, look,
Shaken.
Brenden,
Not
SEC
stirred.
baseball, well,
Not
shaken, not
stirred.
stirred. I tell you
That's
what
how
has
they
been
do it.
shaken is SEC baseball has been shaken around a lot. We're going to talk with Mitch Davis at the MitchDavisShow.com in the first segment, talking about SEC baseball, the haves and have-nots. This has been really
Crazy.
I mean, I'm not surprised. I think the 11 teams in the league, there were 3 or 4 that were 13 and 17, and that's why they had the records that they did, and they got beat. There's good baseball all over this country. Also, Franz Beard, Ben Troupe will join us. Hit the smash the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner on your screen and allow notifications on Android and iPhone, and sync us live or later on your phone, your laptop, your desktop, in your car, in your boat, in your plane, wherever you are. SEC Sidelines Sports is coming at you, here to serve. Notice about the best league in America and what's left going to the trip to Omaha. We'll be right back.
Grab your pen and paper.
Pen and paper handy. That's right. That's right.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, man. Mitch, I saw that text from you last night, and you're right. Just a lot of shitty baseball play in the SEC. You had 4 teams with 13 and 17 records, and as much as we like to think the SEC, it's great. Don't question that. But you get 11 teams. Those last 2 or 3, I mean, they're questionable. You get out there in the tournament, and all these so-called smaller schools, mid-majors, and nobody's ever heard of type schools, they come to play. And I didn't know this until Matt Dean said this on the show Thursday, that Georgia's 6'6" star Charlie Condon was all committed and ready to go to Rhodes College and play football and baseball and everything like that. And then Georgia found out about him, and he ended up going to Georgia, and he's having a great career. But Mitch, let's start breaking this down as we do the Monday morning deconstruction analysis of what's left of the SEC baseball teams in this trip quest to get to Omaha. Let's go down. Let's kind of go down the depth chart, 1 through 11, and I want your comments on it.
Yeah, guys, thank you all so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And hi, Mitch.
Do what?
I said hi, Mitch.
What's up? I appreciate y'all having me. I'm exhausted.
How was all your booze drinking down there at the SEC tournament?
We had fun. I'll put it like that. Of course, I love my LSU folks. Got a lot of love for those folks. I enjoyed partying with them and hung out with Tommy White's dad and Jake Browne's dad. So Jake Browne's dad, Chase Browne. Hung out with them a little bit in the RV lot. Had a great time in Hoover. I love Hoover every year. It's a wonderful event. And really, truthfully, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. And I've been talking to my wife about this and my dad and all that. Hoover, the SEC baseball tournament it is the most fun event in the SEC calendar season. I know that the basketball tournament's fun, but that's ran by 1 to 2 fan bases only. Nashville's overrated. Everybody knows how much I hate Nashville. I think Nashville is the worst city to go to
I'm
an
with
event.
You. I don't like Nashville that much.
It's too damn expensive, and it's just to me, it's just not enjoyable. To me, I just don't like Nashville. I love the small town. I'm a country kid. I love Hoover. I love the surrounding area of Hoover. So it was a fun trip. And looking at this baseball from this weekend, obviously a lot of disappointment, a lot of question marks. I mean, you start with Tim Corbin and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's going to have to take a long, hard look at what they're going to have to do this offseason because obviously they can't fire Corbin. I know a lot of Vanderbilt fans are getting to that point where they're like, hey, I'm done with Tim Corbin. And I'm done with what he's done in the last 4 or 5 years. And I get that. That is completely reasonable. You should have every right to be pissed off. But I don't know what the exact stat was. I had it somewhere. Vanderbilt athletics this year, I mean, football finished 2-10. Basketball finished with 8 wins, if I'm not mistaken. Football or baseball went 0-2 in the regionals. Women's basketball didn't have a good season. So I saw this from Chris Lee, and I know y'all have him on the show too. Chris Lee said this is the lowest point ever in Vanderbilt athletic history, and they have a joke of an athletic director who doesn't know what she's doing either. So Vanderbilt's in shambles, and then you go look at Arkansas. Arkansas, they got a new basketball coach. That new basketball coach brought his curse with him from Kentucky, where Arkansas is, not going to be having success in the postseason. And the thing about it is Razorback fans have every reason to be pissed off. If they were going to win a national championship in baseball, this was going to be the season. And I don't.
Yeah. Mitch, let me throw something at you. George, Nashville is terrible, but Memphis makes it look like heaven. I love Memphis, my city, but you better get the crime under control. And I don't care what it takes. You better do that. Or you're going to lose your people. But I mean, I'm just saying about Nashville. Everybody I've talked to that lives up there, my friends up there, they all say the same thing. You know what they say, Mitch? We don't want to be the next Atlanta. Atlanta spread out over 22 counties, 6.5 million people, and there's traffic jams 24 hours a day, every day of the week, every day of the year.
I hate to get political on y'all, but I mean, there's a lot more liberals up in Nashville than I would like to be around.
State government, but it's a red state. But you're right. But let me say this, Mitch. You talking about Vanderbilt, that Candace Lee or whatever, the athletic director. I mean, I want to, and I talked to Chris Lee a lot about this. I want to see Vanderbilt succeed, but good God, make an effort. Tim Corbin, great baseball coach, but there's some things that they've got to help him do at Vanderbilt with NIL and the portal and stuff like that. He's got to get help there. He's going to have to make it happen.
Don't you guys think, though, this is indicative of what is going to happen to, I think, any program, especially in the SEC right now, that if you are going to be lackluster in the rest of your athletics, a la football and something else, and then you're going to try to hyper focus on, one sport. I think what we're going to find is that bleeds over, because, as far as the, I guess, branding persona of wanting to play for a school that's dominant in all, sports, it's sort of a pride thing. And for a kid and athlete and perspective, recruiting, all that kind of stuff. But then I think that it's like a cancer in the locker room. I think that sort of bleeds down the line. Vanderbilt can't, in a lot of ways, expect to be excellent if you're not going to be excellent everywhere else. And I think they struggle in other sports, and they just seem to be on the decline. And that's not going to cut it in the SEC, I don't think, anymore.
Well, and I'll say this, Mitch and Brenden, football is like basic training, the 13 weeks of basic training, boot camp, Parris Island, Fort Benning, whatever you want to say, Fort Jackson. Bottom line is this. If you ain't serious about football and you're not putting the money into it, don't try to make it on these other sports. It's never, ever going to carry you. You either commit or get out of the way. And I'm going to tell you what I see. And Chris asks more tough questions about Vanderbilt guys than anybody. I mean, when they put the girl kicker out there in 2020, that was real cute, wasn't it? Let's try her on a fake field goal around right end, and some big linebacker like Takeo Spikes is waiting for her. Hits her at about 23 miles an hour in the open field. Then we have congressional hearings about football is too rough and violent. We've got to get rid of it. I want to tell you something. Mitch got distracted here, but I'm going to tell you what alpha male culture is, what this show and Free Press is all about. Vanderbilt, their athletic director, we were at homecoming for the Auburn game back in November, and that homecoming court, I mean, it was weird. There was one person that had a major like math and science or engineering or something like that. The rest of them were the antiquities and primitive cultures and study of the human ear. I mean, look,
And what's
God.
crazy about Vanderbilt, and again, I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but what should happen is kick them out of the SEC. I just, what did they add?
Sort of where I
And
was
know
getting at.
why
Yeah,
we added
they
them
need to
back
go.
in 1930, and I get that. But
Yeah.
what do they bring to the table to
Nothing.
the SEC? We're supposed to share money with them. Ole Miss,
Yeah.
Kentucky, all these teams that have success in football, Alabama, Georgia, your Auburns of the world. We're supposed to share money with Vanderbilt. I mean,
exactly.
to me, and I will fight for Vanderbilt. I love what Vanderbilt stands for. I think they're a great university. They saved my dad's life 2 years ago. However, from an athletic standpoint, what do they add to the SEC that Florida State or Clemson wouldn't have added? To me, I guess I lose that focus a little bit.
Yeah, and like I say, we're not a political show. I mean, we're a sports show, but all I'm saying is that you're going to start having discussions going forward in these conference realignments, in these super conferences. Jackie Sherrill was on the show with us Friday, and it's about eyeballs. Okay, if you're in a partnership in business, let's say you are a securities firm or you're a law practice. Okay, you have 5 partners or 10 partners. Okay, everybody's got to bring a lot to the table, or you're out. And then a problem is that as you start sharing 50, 60, 80, 100 million, you're going to start seeing these questions asked by a lot of the SEC and saying, look, they're a founding member in 1933, but you can't continue you just can't sit there and get a check.
No.
I mean, you can't do it. And I think that if baseball, they're out in 2 games. Again, I don't hate Vanderbilt, but you got to look at a conference. You're only as strong as your weakest link, gentlemen.
Yeah, and I think we see that, now with NIL. I don't know who made the point this weekend. Again, I've been covering Mississippi State all weekend, covering the SEC baseball spectrum. So I've kind of
you're mad as hell.
I've kind of gotten lost on Twitter a little bit on who says what. But in the world of NIL, I mean, what is a team like Vanderbilt going to do? They don't have a large fan base. I don't know about y'all, but I can only name maybe 10 Vanderbilt fans, legit Vanderbilt fans that I have met in my lifetime. But I can name 100 Alabama, I can name 100 Auburn, I can name 100 Kentucky, 100 Ole Miss, 100 Mississippi State, and so on and so on. I can only name 10 legitimate Vanderbilt fans that have stuck with the Commodores through thick and thin. And I think that is where Vanderbilt is in this world of NIL, in this world of transfer portal. Nobody wants to go to Vanderbilt. Nobody wants to go and hang out on the West End because the facilities are outdated. It's not a very pretty campus. It's right off Nashville. Nashville's a super busy town. Instead, you can come down to Starkville, or you can come to LSU, or you can go to Auburn. Small town, pretty town. You got the co-eds
Gainesville,
match.
Athens. I mean,
Yeah,
Gainesville's a small town.
I mean, you got the co-eds to match. If you're a female athlete, you got the men. If you're a man, you got the females here. So to me, when I'm looking at the grand scheme of college athletics right now, I'm looking at what the SEC is going forward. We can't kick Vanderbilt out, but you have to start asking, what does Vanderbilt add in a world of revenue sharing and sharing the wealth and everything? If Vanderbilt's not going to contribute, if they're going to go 0-2 in regionals and not make NCAA tournaments and not make bowl games and not be competitive in the SEC, then why does the other SEC schools have to share $45 million with Vanderbilt when they're not going to be holding up their end of the bargain? So
it's going to be
that's
60.
where we are with Vanderbilt. So
yeah.
And again, we've got plenty of other baseball. We've got a lot of disappointment this weekend, but we've got some excitement. Arkansas, another disappointing. I'm not going to harp on the disappointing. Arkansas, I really, truthfully don't know what's going to happen for Dave Van Horn in this Razorback club. They didn't have success in Hoover. And I asked Van Horn, I said, Coach, what about the success in Hoover, the lack of success? How does that mentally get y'all in a good space for next week? And he said, my team will be fine. My team will be fine. They'll respond. Well, a week later, they're win one game in the Arkansas Regional, they're done. So Arkansas is in a weird place right now because football, again, like Vanderbilt, football is 6-6, 4-5, or 4-7 every year. So, 4-8. What do you do with this? What do you do with the athletic department? They brought in John Calipari, but give John Calipari 2 or 3 years, Calipari's going to want Arkansas to be Calipari U. That's what happened at Kentucky.
All right. Let me throw this at you. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but I got to look at these questions coming up. I don't know George's last name, but this guy's smart. And I like Mr. Van Der. I like these people keeping us in our lane. Okay, we're a sports show. But there's politics involved in sports too. All I'm saying, I like what George says. We need a couple of weak teams in the SEC. We're already going to cannibalize each other during the regular season as it is. That's something to think about. Now, look, my grandfather and his brother went to Vanderbilt Law School after VMI. A lot of my family, cousin Helen, so many of them, Vanderbilt people. But they're like we are. They're going, what's going on? We don't recognize it. And you know what? Here's the deal. In a business partnership, again, you've got 10, in this case now 16 partners. If you got a partner that's not pulling their weight and bringing something to the table, you get rid of them. You get fired in the business world. I don't know why the SEC feels beholden. I'm going to tell you, you want to talk about academics? We're in a whole new world now.
Nobody cares about academics anymore. I promise you.
Well, but but here's the SEC schools, okay? You look at the public Ivies, okay? Florida's one of them. It's now one of the public Ivies. It's one of only 6 schools in America. I just tell it like I see it. I don't give a damn if we got Georgia, Florida, who watch it. I want you to watch, but I'll say what I think, and I'll tell you what I think. I'm never worried about what people think about what I say. But Florida has got a law school, a medical school, a vet school. It's only 6 colleges in America that have that, okay? And I'm just, Mitch, you're right. I don't hate Vanderbilt, but maybe they go into a league with Duke and schools like that, and it's more compatible. And you say, because if you're gonna continue to get a check and you're playing make-believe, that's not fair to the rest of the conference members. So who do you bring into the league? I'll tell you the next 2 candidates. It's going to be UNC and UVA. And that means NC State comes in because the legislature over in Raleigh is not going to allow North Carolina to go without NC State.
So we go and add 2 of the most
Nobody's
elite.
going to take Duke.
We go and add the 2 of the most elite. I've had UVA fans and Texas fans in my mentions all week long on Twitter. Being
public
stupid.
Ivies.
I'm going to say this right now, and I don't really care who I offend on this. When Texas gets added to this conference, they're going to get their ass kicked. By the fans, by the media, because they think the whole world revolves around them. I know the college football video game, the trailer came out, and it is a badass trailer, guys. I am so freaking excited. I wish we could spend a whole show talking about the NCAA 25 video game, because that is going to be a dope video game. It's going to be awesome. But you had Texas and Oklahoma fans complaining because they misplaced the end zones. When you get to the SEC and you bring your fans over here, let's say you go to Hoover next year, and every team's going to be in Hoover next year. You're going to have the feral kids of Hoover absolutely eating you alive when you lose to Tennessee in the first round of the SEC tournament. That's what the SEC is. We don't give a damn about what end zone you're in. We don't give a damn about, we had this in the Big 12. Okay, that's fine. Stay in the Big 12 then. Stay there. Stay in your lane instead of coming over here and being so sensitive and following Texas A&M. Texas used to make fun. I can remember it. I can bring up tweets from so many Texas people. Oh, A&M is just chasing a dollar. They're scared of Texas. They're scared of Texas. 7 to 10 years later, now we've got Texas following Texas A&M to the SEC and still complaining because we're not going bend over backwards like the Big 12 did for them. So I can't wait for Texas to join this conference because they are in for a rude awakening when they get to the Southeastern Conference.
Well, what's going to be really fun is when we go to Media Days in July in Dallas. That's going to be – they're going to try to make it about Texas and OU and A&M. But Texas hates Texas A&M, and the feeling is mutual. There's respect between Oklahoma and Texas. That's just how it is.
And somebody said that was the top. I've had several Texas fans tell me that's the top 3 rivalry in college sports. I'd hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we've got the Egg Bowl, we've got the Iron Bowl, we've got Auburn and Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, world's largest cocktail party. All five of those are bigger than Oklahoma and Texas. I hate to be like that, but down here in the actual South, those are bigger rivalries that actually define somebody's relationship, somebody's life is based off of those 4 or 5 football games. I mean, Texas and Oklahoma is maybe number 10 in the SEC. So that's just kind of where I'm leaving it.
Mitch, I'm gonna disagree with you. I guess it's because I'm older, but the Texas OU between those two schools, there are 11 national championships. You talk about a rivalry of significance, and I think the Red River Shootout is one of the best rivalries in America.
How many of those championships are in the modern era?
Well, Oklahoma won their last national championship in 2000, but they played for it 3 other times since then.
And Texas, they got smoked by SEC schools.
Yeah, they did by Florida in 2008, and they were averaging about 60 points a game in the 5 games prior to playing Florida. And the Gators and that defense shut them down, beat them 24-14 with Tim Tebow. No, I'm just saying, don't discount the Red River rivalry. That's a great rivalry. The shootout. It's an awesome Tennessee, Alabama. I mean, Alabama's won 16 of the last 17 games. Is that really a rivalry? I mean, in football, when you get your ass kicked 16 of the last 17 times, I mean, you have to say, what is it? Here's the thing you got to be careful of. And I love this. The Olive Branch in Oxford, Mississippi, the vitamin shop. We need to get some brain medicine. but Miss, this is a great debate. And let me say this. Oxford, the vitamin shop is open Monday through Saturday. 9:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sundays, 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. The vitamin shop. The people that work there know what they're doing. Mitch, you know what you're talking about. This is a cool discussion. I think Tennessee, all sports. But here's the thing about these rivalries. You're right. Same thing with Oklahoma and Texas. Tennessee and Alabama, basketball rivalry, okay? Baseball, I mean, softball, everything. It's a rivalry. You're right. Now,
in Texas and Oklahoma, I feel like it's just football. And I guess what I don't understand
is everything.
Mitch, so
they are so good. Texas has an endowment of over $42 billion. Oklahoma is probably $3.5 to $4 billion now. Yeah. Remember, the state legislature in Texas every year appropriates 2/3 of the oil and gas money that the state owns to Texas and 1/3 to College Station, to A&M. The Permian Basin in West Texas and New Mexico out there produces, on average, 4.2 million barrels per day. Only, as Franz Beard says on this show frequently, and he'll be on in a couple of minutes, he says, only God and the Longhorns have more money than the Aggies. But it's true. Like a girl told me one time, my friend said, if money can solve it, it's not a problem. If money were the answer, Texas and Texas A&M would be swapping national championships. You got to have the right people. And I'm telling you, when Florida got Spurrier, it changed. I'll tell you the guy that changed Florida, in my opinion. You don't know him, was Charlie Pell. That's the guy. I mean, look, I know Florida got put on probation. I didn't know Charlie Pell, but we had his widow on this show last year, Ward Pell. And I'm going to get her back on again. You talk about going inside of a coach. Nobody knows them better than their wife. Yeah. But Charlie Pell's the guy that got Florida going. I'm sorry. I love Steve Spurrier. But Charlie Pell woke him up and said, hey, no matter who you are, you can be a Gator. Mitch, this is a cool discussion. I'm hogging it. I'm just get back on a roll. I'm ADD and OCD. So what were we talking about? Bowling?
And, Rob, I think what also, to me, hurts Texas and OU as coming into this conference is not a lot of us really care about that rivalry. Nobody really. It's not like a schedule.
You're going to.
I'm probably not. I mean,
you will.
Their AD
I'm taking you. I'm taking you to that game.
Take me. I mean, I'm going to throw my horns down. I'll be rooting for Oklahoma. Legitimately, I cannot stand Texas. I don't know why.
All right, time out. Now, you do know that the Texas State Fair lasts for 3 weeks. And they have this
the world's largest cocktail party is one of the best rivalries. I mean, but Mitch, Simon Islands and Jekyll Island, all those islands down there, man.
We're bringing Well, we're bringing Franz Beard, the Iron Duke, on here. There's Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and then there's Franz Beard. But let me say this. There's this big 70-foot cow, Mitch, at the Texas State Fair in Dallas every year, which lasts for 3 weeks. His name is Howdy, folks. Big Tex here. Come on down to the Texas State Fair and get you a fried Twinkie wrapped in cream cheese and bacon with nuts on it, and a turkey leg deep fried in bacon. There's Big Tex right there. Look at that. I mean, Mitch, you cannot deny they just put $145 million into the Cotton Bowl. Mitch, I love you. And the other day I was in tears. Mitch goes, everybody goes, where's Mitch? I thought he was coming on, so I put him on the schedule, but he had turned off his phone after 5 straight days in Hoover. Franz Beard, what do you have to say to our young man, Mitch Davis, one of the hardest working people out there, that the Texas OU rivalry ranks 10th in the SEC behind all these other great rivalries? Point, counterpoint. Franz, you're on the clock. What do you think?
It doesn't rank there with Florida, Georgia, or Alabama, Auburn. I can tell you that. It's good, but it ain't that good.
Yeah.
This is the thing that's interesting is I realize these are 2 great athletic programs, and they're 2 athletic programs that have their own printing presses that print money. It's called oil, and they've got resources that go beyond, and it's going to, over these next few years, we're going to see the impact and how their money impacts the rest of us, because the rest of us are going to be playing catch up with it. But big but here, I'm playing hurt, by the way. I had a bad fall last night, had to be in the emergency room with a severely dislocated shoulder, and oh yes, I mean my arm is out. My arm is out like this, and I can't move it. Because
well, get better.
It was fun. It was fun. I revel in the pain.
Well, you're tough, Franz. You're the Iron. That's why you're the Iron Duke.
But Franz was too busy celebrating that big old Florida win last night. He probably jumped up and tripped over the stuffed gator or something. So
I got home from the emergency room in time to see the end of it. But I got to tell you what, I did see Caglione put one into serious orbit. 119 miles an hour off his bat. 413 feet. I mean, even Peterson says that's in the next county. You got it. I have all the respect in the world for Charlie Condon, self-made guy who was a walk-on there.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you what, the guy that if you're pulling the trigger in the major league draft, unless you have such a severe need for pitching that you got to find the best pitcher available, you're nuts if you don't take Jack Caglione.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hold on, Mitch. I know you've got to drop off here in a second and put on your super banker cape. But Mitch, man, I like this. I like this lively debate about these rivalries. Now, I don't know George, but I love this guy. He's a good, and Perry Mason. These are smart people. And I like this. Franz, I hope your arm heals quickly, says Gator George. But Mitch, we want it to. I mean, and I'm telling you, Mitch, let people know you're going to be writing a lot this week. Okay. And you put out a lot of really good content, and you mean what you say and you say what you mean. That is what the First Amendment is all about. There's no censorship on SEC Sidelines Sports Network and SECU. So let them know how they can follow you. And hell, man, we may have to get you back on later in the week because you're a truth broker. I like it.
Absolutely, guys. Franz, it's good to see you. Rob, thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, Mitch.
Yes, sir.
Keep between the white lines, and if you fall, do not fall on your face, which I did. And while you're falling on your face, don't stick your arm out at such an angle that it's going to be stuck out like this. And you're trying to drive one-handed to the emergency room. like that. Just don't do it. That's one thing to avoid, okay? Other than that
would hurt.
Some advice I'll give you for this week.
But guys, I really do appreciate it, and I'm going to leave y'all with this. Follow me on Twitter, MitchDavis_8, MitchDavisShow.com. I'm going to have a couple podcasts this week. Going to be talking to Lawrence Dockery from Memphis about soccer. I've never gotten into soccer, but I promised him a podcast. I promised him a platform to talk about the exciting, I guess, summer of soccer. So talking not only UFC, talking the
That's her. Don't be a damned heretic. Are you kidding me? In the immortal words of Dan Jenkins, take soccer.
I made a commitment to a friend, so I got.
It'll be good stuff, man.
It'll be funny because I have no idea about soccer. I've got 24 hours to prepare for this interview while trying to mix together the emotions after this disappointing Mississippi State season. But we won't get into that. Chris Lamone.
I used to have Arsenal season tickets. Okay.
Really?
In London, yes. And here is the truth that they won't tell you about British soccer. 4 hours before the match, they're getting drunk. The reason they jump up and down and holler so much is to sober up so that afterward they can go out and get drunk again.
That's my kind of people.
Yeah.
That is the essence of British soccer. And in France, they have a little wine and the croissants with the cheese and grapes. Got to have the grapes, of course.
Got to have the grapes. But there's nothing like the soccer crowds in Ireland and
they're
England,
crazy,
Mitch.
incredible.
I mean, you ever seen the movie Braveheart?
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember those folks on the people on the other side of the field with the blue face paint? Those are my people. I'm Scotch Irish. That's your soccer fans.
Yeah. You know what? They can take it and they can have it. And I'm glad that the rest of the world has it. And it's a great game for our girls growing up because they don't have tackle football.
Yeah.
But there is something fundamentally wrong and seriously un-American when there's a loose ball and somebody doesn't scoop it up and run with it.
That's
all right.
Where I'm at. But guys, I'm gonna leave you with this because I see some comments coming in here, and y'all follow me on Twitter because I can't wait to make some people mad with this. The Egg Bowl is the greatest rivalry in college football. I'll leave you with that. We'll talk about that later, and I will tell you why. Because we're in state, they hate each other, and the state of Mississippi, we don't have pro sports, man. This is that Egg Bowl game between State and Ole Miss that's the game. Like,
I'm gonna tell you what.
Beat Ole Miss last week in Hoover. I can tell you right now, there were, a million State fans in the state that were 10 times more excited about beating Ole Miss and ending their season than any win the rest of the season. I'm gonna leave that out there. Ben Troupe, you have a good weekend or a good week, my guy. I'll be hollering us. We got to talk some Gator football soon.
All right, Mitch, thank you so much, man. Keep doing it. Keep on keeping on. Ben Troupe, Swainsboro, Augusta, Gainesville, Nashville, Oakland, Tampa, back to Savannah, the Grid City. Iron Duke, Franz Beard recovering from an injury. You know what? This is a cool argument. Mitch, Mitch was saying the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma, Texas, it might be the 10th best rivalry in the SEC. I think it's one of the best rivalries in the country. But what was funny was to talk to Greg McElroy a couple of weeks ago in Memphis when he said, the cool thing about when you play on the West Coast is you pretty much had all day Saturday to get ready for the game on Sunday. He said, so I got some friends of mine. I said, hey, you want to watch a real rivalry? This was the Kick 6 game back in 2013. He said, come watch the Iron Bowl with me. And there were some Notre Dame guys and some Southern Cal guys and Penn State and all. And they watched it and they saw the Kick 6. And he said, I had a couple of my Alabama teammates with me and some other people. But, you played in the NFL. I mean, I read a story 30 years ago. And Franz, I think y'all can relate. And it was interviewing a bunch of players in the SEC who had left after 3 years. And every one of them said, I wish I'd have stayed my fourth year. I said, there's nothing like college. And I'm looking right in the eyes of a guy that did stay all 4 years, got his degree, and, does a lot of great things. But it's hard to say no to that money, but another year of development. I mean, what about it, Ben?
I think, number one, the thing about college is it's the last time it's the last and one of the only times you're gonna play with guys that you love and respect. I mean, because you do everything together. You were broke together, no money together. The guy with the car ain't got gas money, right? The guy with the gas money still want to eat when we go to the mall, and we all in one car now. I mean, the lady with the sample, she hated us. We grabbing the whole little plate. Forget that little toothpick. Give me that plate, lady. And we eating it up, and it's one of those things that when you in it, you so naive. Like when you in the Egg Bowl or the Iron Bowl, you so naive because you doing it. You think it's so normal, and then you take a step back. You leave after a year, and you go and see what it really is. To know that people say, "Oh yeah, me and the missus, we save up all year." Where y'all live at? Oh man, we live in Nebraska, but we come here every year. We save up all year. Listen now, Mitch. Let me tell you something. Mitch said the greatest game there is the Egg Bowl. If you from Mississippi, I played with two guys, one from Mississippi, one from Mississippi State. They talk to each other. You would think one went to Harvard and one went to Duke. The way they talking to each other, prestigiousness of Ole Miss. Like they say, you go to Ole Miss when you go to Ole Miss when you couldn't get recruited by Mississippi State. It's the uniqueness of college football is one that you got the Red River rivalry. But I don't know what the Mason-Dixon line is. I don't know where it is, but I think where we at is they passed that. Like I played with guys that went to Oklahoma. I played with guys that went to Texas. I go, okay. But the thing is, Tennessee, Georgia don't matter what the record is. Florida, Georgia don't matter what the record is. Alabama don't matter. And I think with college football, I played with Kevin Carter. Got 100 sacks. First-round draft pick, one of the greatest players in the SEC from Tallahassee, still went to Florida, and he came back to Florida and said, "It will not get better than this." Yeah. Listen, he's and I think that most of these players know this. Look, the greatest stories you will ever tell is when you was in college, because that them guys is really out there giving all they got. There are guys who know they ain't going pro, don't care about going pro, using football to get through school. And those are the guys you playing with. So have I lied and said I played with Tim Tebow now and again? I probably lied and said it now and again. I got so sick of people asking me, friends. Yeah, I played with him. Don't check the roster, though. Don't check the roster.
Well, here's what I know, Ben Troupe. You played with Rex Grossman the year that the Heisman Trophy went totally political. They gave the participation trophy to Eric Crouch. Who deserved the Heisman about like I need to be throwing passes with my right arm, which was dislocated last night. Yeah, right. Rex Grossman's 2001 was as good as 99.8% of all the great college seasons there have ever been. And he got robbed. He got robbed because they felt bad for Eric Crouch. And quite frankly, Rex lost the ball game to Tennessee, and they didn't want to give him the Heisman because of that loss to Tennessee. Pure and simple. But here's the thing. You remember those things. You remember Rex mastering the 2-inch pass when we beat Georgia. Because Rex had tendinitis in his arm, and he couldn't throw the ball down the field. So what do? We go with the 2-inch passes, and I think Rex was like 71 out of 72. So no, I'm exaggerating just a teensy bit, but Rex just kept throwing, and Georgia kept saying, "Well, this is all a bluff. Sooner or later, he's going to try to chunk it down the field." I think the longest ball he threw the whole day downfield was about 8 yards, Ben.
Yeah. The longest one might have been to me on the touchdown pass to Thomas Davis. I think was on the 10-yard line. It's Rex Grossman to me. When we talk about what Lincoln Riley does for quarterbacks now is what Coach Spurrier started. Everybody want to go play for Lincoln Riley.
That's great. I like that.
Right, and when you think about what Coach Spurrier did with Shane, you talk about Danny. The thing about Rex Grossman is. Rex Grossman didn't grow up in the SEC. Man, he's from Indiana. Yeah. He probably didn't even know what the SEC was. He definitely
his dad played in the Canadian Football League, by golly.
But I think the thing is, Coach Spurrier had an eye for talent, for arm talent, and guys that could take quarterbacks that could take feedback. Because he'll say, I don't criticize my quarterbacks. I give them feedback. Criticize them for what? If they can do it, they can do it. And I think the thing about Rex is, I just looked at Rex 2001 stats. He had 34 tubs. He had 34 of them. Stop playing. I just think, buddy. I mean, I just think Lauren. I just think Franz. I'm just going through the whole show. When you think about a guy like Rex, I really didn't think that quarterbacks in Florida, that people had bias against them. I really didn't think that. And then as the years go on, I go, Tim Tebow, yes, he won the Heisman. Yes, he got more rushing touchdowns than Herschel Walker. Sorry, Georgia fans. That's just what it is. It becomes this thing that a Kyle Trask, people will say, well, he's only doing this because, he's in that Dan Mullen offense. No. He's doing it because he's built for it. So college football, like I say, 2001, Eric Crouch knows everything. When he was accepting that Heisman, he felt weird. He knew he was. He was like, it's like, even though I think he still should have won, I mean, when you go back to when it was Randy Moss, Charles Woodson, Peyton Manning, when they said Charles Woodson, Peyton Manning had to keep the straightest face he ever had. Like, don't. This is the thing. The same reason why Rex lost is the same reason why Peyton Manning lost. Rex lost to Tennessee. Peyton Manning never beat Florida. Never. So you cannot win no Heisman when you've never beaten your rival. Never.
Yeah. You have to. I mean, during your career, you have to have done it. All right, look, Lindy's college football magazine picked it up at Barnes & Noble last week, okay? Also picked up this one. It's football time in Tennessee. That's a great one. Those are the two. But there's an article in there, folks, by Dennis Dodd. I like Dennis. Had Dennis on the show about 3 weeks ago. Great writer from Kansas City, Missouri grad. And he takes what we talk about on this show. We're all about positive energy, okay? You will get out of life what you accept. If you want to see your future, look at the people you hang out with. If you don't like it, hang out with better people, okay? But he writes this article about all the stuff going on in college football today. And he says, the game, attendance for the last 2 years has gone up back to back. The interest, fan demand. I told you, the last 2 seats in the Nelson Club at Auburn, one of the scholarship sections, went for $331,000 for 2 seats this year. There were 71 openings. People pass on, go up to heaven. They're still watching, but people move. They get relocated to Borneo or Sumatra. But dadgummit, this game just gets better and better because of stories like what Ben just told. I'm looking at it again. I'm just never going to be convinced that Florida's not always going to be in the conversation, not because y'all are on here, just because I've grown up with that rivalry, Auburn, Florida. Georgia-Florida rivalry, by the way, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that is a badass, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Yes, I'll say it. I don't know who this is that says you can't say it. Who is this? Who is they? They is some little gnome, some little garden gnome when you're out there on the John Deere cutting the 5 acres out back that you have to get off, turn the thing off, and move it so you don't hit it and break your blade. But these rivalries, and when Peyton Manning, I remember that Friday, the day before the announcement, and they said Bud Ford, Tennessee's sports information director, was in tears at the Heisman Trophy announcement. I read that in Football Time in Tennessee. There's some of the coolest stories that I read over the weekend. And Peyton Manning grabbed his arm at the announcement at the Waldorf Astoria and said, don't worry about it, And of course he got his, but you can't say anything bad about Charles Woodson. I don't know the guy, but he had a 17-year career and he's a badass. And I've never heard anybody say anything but great teammate, great competitor. I'd love to have him on the show anytime, Franz Beard.
But guess what? He deserved the Heisman about like you did that year.
Hey, thank you. Well,
and
no,
the
but
fact
Peyton deserved it.
The fact of the matter is, is, Charles Woodson gets the Heisman Trophy, and look at their schedule. Look at who they play. It's kind of like what Texas and Oklahoma are going to discover. You're going to, and this is one of the bigger reasons why they left the Big 12. And the Big 12, you can go to TCU and play before 46,000 people at Amon Carter Stadium. Or you can go down to Baylor, and it's state of the art. It is gorgeous, but it still only seats 43,000 people.
Yeah.
Texas Tech, 60. Up at Oklahoma State, 60. Houston, 45. And on and on and on. Well, you know what? I just talked about stadiums that would be among the two smallest in the Southeastern Conference. They're coming here because they got a 101,000 seat stadium. And when they go to Alabama, they're going to be playing in a 101,000 seat stadium.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma plays in an 85,000 seat stadium. When they come to Auburn, it's 87,000, or Florida, 90,000.
Yeah.
They change conferences because the SEC is better, period.
Yeah.
It's not the almost competitive conference. It's not the Pac-2, and it certainly isn't the Big 10 plus 9 or 12 or how many more they just added in. I think Savannah State just joined the Big 10.
Let me say this, Franz, and to add fuel to what you're saying for both of y'all and to the rest of the free world watching. We had Tyler McComas on from KREF, does a show from like 2 to 6, Monday through Friday in Oak City, Bricktown, they call it, about Oklahoma and college football. He made a point. He said, when it was officially announced that OU was coming into the SEC, the Chamber of Commerce, the Visitors Bureau in Norman, which is, 20 minutes on the other side of Oklahoma City, which is a big city, did a survey. They said, what's going to be the economic impact of this? Said, well, typically Big 12 teams don't travel to Norman like these SEC schools do, okay? And he said, well, what's the deal? They went to Fayetteville, Lexington, KY, downtown Lexington, KY, as Joe Dean would say, string music, Stufferino by Ben Troupe. And then they went to Tuscaloosa. The average economic impact on a weekend in Fayetteville, Lexington, KY, and Tuscaloosa, Alabama, $33 million and change for a home football game. That's the average. In Norman, I said, we're about 11 million. That's why they're in the SEC. Connect the dots. In any business deal, if 1 and 1 don't equal 3, don't sign the papers, gentlemen.
Well, this is the thing is they're joining the SEC, and it's purely economical. And they, to say that they have outgrown their little brothers, well, they have, and it just absolutely galls them that here are the Aggies with all, in a conference that everybody in Texas is seeing. It just means more here. Yeah. And they're saying, it reminds me of that commercial that they did with American Express. I don't know if you remember it, back in the Super Bowl years when John Lovitz was saying, they come in there and say, American Express is welcome here. And he says, and everything. But this is where I want to be, because he didn't carry an American Express. And everywhere you go, the airport lounge, Dana Carvey goes in and he gets in and he says, but this is where I want to be. Well, this is where Texas wants to be.
And OU.
This is where Oklahoma wants to be. And trust me, they're willing to accept the fact that they're going to lose ball games that they would have won in the Big 12 to be part of something bigger and better and greater than what. All right,
friends, hold that thought. Ben, respond. I love that.
No, I agree. No matter what OU and Texas says, right? No matter what they say, they came over here. See, all this talk about Texas this and OU that, Texas this and OU that. When Texas A&M and Mizzou came over, Texas and Oklahoma were the first fan base. And look, they running. And Greg Sankey go, oh, don't worry, they coming, right? Yeah. But what they didn't know was Johnny Manziel did not get recruited by Texas when the Texas A&M. What did he win? He win the Heisman in the SEC, right? People say if he does what he does in the Big 12, do he win it? I don't know, because you don't get the same eyeballs, right? Texas A&M versus Kansas don't got the same flash. When Texas A&M, Johnny Manziel played Florida, they had a billboard sign in Gainesville of Texas A&M. I'm pretty sure that guy got whoever sold that got fired. I guarantee they got fired. I think that what Franz just said is they know if it don't make money, it don't make sense. And if Vanderbilt told Texas and OU, y'all need to come on over here. Y'all want to make some money? Because y'all want to make sure that when y'all speak, more than a certain demographic of the country can hear y'all finna get a whole different traffic. Now, look, no, I'm sorry, but most people don't know what Oklahoma is, let alone Norman. They don't know what that is. They don't know what that is. You take the
I've been to Oklahoma.
I think they do though, Ben. I think Oklahoma. My friend Steve Leake, who passed away years ago, his father Buddy Leake was an All-American for Bud Wilkinson with Billy Vessels in the 50s. He had a website called Southern Fried Sooner. He was from Memphis, went to my high school. Growing up in Memphis, I'm telling you, Oklahoma, that's an iconic. That's football aristocracy. And so is Texas. No, look, look,
it's the truth. Now, I'm not taking that. I'm saying I am talking about my nephew is 17 years old.
Yeah,
he is getting recruited right now. He is going to be a singer. I strip all the states' names off the. I'm giving him a map. I said I want you to take this pen. I want you to put it on the state of Oklahoma. Put it on the state of Oklahoma. He's gonna hesitate. That's what I mean when I say. When you start talking about TCU was in the national championship and the average person couldn't tell you what TCU was. Yeah. They couldn't even tell you where it is. That kind of stuff don't happen.
As they say in Texas, it's over there in Fort Worth.
Well, you know what they do on Wednesdays at noon in Fort Worth and downtown in the stock. They have the cattle roundup. I mean, it's at the stockyards, Amon G. Carter Stadium, and they have a fundraising group at TCU called the Tandy 100. Tandy 100, and that was the guy Tandy was the Radio Shack family. They got some money, and their 100 biggest donors. They've gotten serious. But Ben, you and Franz are on fire today. Again, this is the off season. Wait till we get because we will start the preseason officially July 15th when Commissioner Sankey pounds the gavel at SEC Media Days. I'll be there. And I'm going to have Oakley there, my assistant, because my wife will be working and unable to attend. So I'll have to hang out in Dallas by myself for 5 days. And I don't know what I'm going to do. No,
the preseason began, Rob. The preseason began the day after the last spring football game.
I know. No, I agree. But we have to. Here's the thing, though, Franz.
The preseason. This is the preseason.
This is technically we got to have an off.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got preseason, then you got then you got media days, then you got a little more preseason, then you get practice, then you get all hell breaks loose.
But let's get it all figures out. But we got to get Ben's perspective. I look at it like this. I've got a ruptured quadricep scar on my right leg from not stretching out and pushing too hard. I've done 75 triathlons. I love doing this kind of stuff. You got to have a preseason.
They got ruptured or not?
Yeah, it hurt. But the Houston clinic fixed it, man. Dr. Stephen Hunter. And I did see Dr. Houston the day before, and he goes, "What are you in for?" And I said, "Ruptured quadricep." He went, "Yikes." He goes, "I'm just kidding." I was like, thanks for the vote of confidence there. But I will say, every day I was at the Houston clinic, an Auburn football player, at least one was brought in for some kind of procedure. I mean, Ben, you know the toll that it takes. So you got preseason, competitive season, postseason, off-season. Mentally, I can say this. I exercise year-round. I do swimming, biking, running, all this stuff. I'm not a professional athlete. I do it. Say, what are you training for? I say, for life. Ben,
you're nuts.
You know what I'm saying. Your body and your mind. And like, Franz, you're 6'3", and you're in great shape. You're sharp as a tack. I mean, I see you standing next to Bruce Pearl. He's everywhere. You're like George. I tell you what, who you are. You're George Plimpton, the bon voyant. I mean, you are. Because you go see these people and you write, and I'm agreeing with you. But Ben, I think this is kind of the off season, but there's still tons to talk about. That's all I'm saying.
Of course, it's the SEC. I mean, that's why people don't like the SEC because you don't other places you got sensationalized stuff to get clicks. You don't have to do that over here.
No.
I mean, when you think listen, right now in Gainesville, people mad at the fact that old Billy Napier is still out there on the recruiting trail, getting the guys that he wants. Not guys, he's getting the guys that he wants. Right? When you talk about a team like Georgia, we get the fact that they're replacing guys, bringing guys back in. We talk about Tuscaloosa, you're going to have a different guy as the head coach. LSU, can they win games without a Heisman hopeful, right? At quarterback. Tennessee got this.
That guy scares me.
Yeah,
he
Tennessee got this guy with this funny last name from California. Can he go out there? Yeah, so I think the thing about the SEC that is different from anywhere else is everybody knows us, and either you with us or you're against us, but you can't beat us. That has always been it. Like, with us or against us, or you can't beat us. Because do you know how many conferences be rooting for the SEC to not have the most drafted players in the draft? It's not gonna. Yeah. Now this year you had other conferences do a really, really good job, right? But think about it. Big 12 about to lose Texas and Oklahoma. So all them draft picks, coming over here. So I think that when you get to talking about what the SEC is and what it means to college football, it's everything to it. And that's not taking nothing away from the other four conferences. They're not taking nothing away. But Franz said something on Orange and Blue Bloods. Listen, with all the talk about transfer portal, it's supposed to be the end of college football. And don't even talk about NIL. The game is still thriving.
Exactly.
When they kick off, listen, when they kick off, no one cares who made what. No one cares who did what. No one cares that Shadur Sanders or Shiloh Sanders got the foul bankrupt. No one cares, because if you did not get on the team or you're not on the team on Saturday when the balls kick off, that's your fault. If you did not show up because they didn't give you a certain dollar, I'm telling you, the purest thing, the two purest forms of football will always be Pop Warner football and high school football. But the best form of football is college, because there's a reason why the NFL play on Sunday. They don't want to deal with college. They don't want to let college be on Sunday because ain't nobody going to watch. No one's waking up to watch Cleveland versus Detroit. I don't care what no one says. Detroit had an outlier type year. So for me, I'm gonna say it and I'm gonna keep saying it. I was blessed enough to do a speaking engagement in Florida, and this is when Kyle Trask was in college. I said, if Kyle Trask is walking down the street with Tua, I think at the time, I said if Kyle Trask walking down the street with Tom Brady, Tua, and Trevor Lawrence, they're gonna ask Kyle Trask, hey Kyle, man, you know Tom Brady? They're not gonna acknowledge Trevor Lawrence. They're not gonna acknowledge Tua. They're not more famous. You think anybody is more famous than the starting quarterback in Florida? No. You think that Kirk Cousins is more famous than Carson Beck? No, absolutely not. Maybe Michael Penix because he just got drafted. So when people ask what do college football mean, it means everything. When you start
say it, Ben, say it what you said. When you die, who are going to be your pallbearers?
Listen, when I die, it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons, so they can let me down one last time. So when people ask what's going to be in my dying will, friends, like when Mitch Davis was on, and friends, you said you had season Arsenal tickets, and you said they used to get drunk before the game. That sounds like Falcons fans. They getting drunk before the game. They getting drunk during the game. If they've never had a beer, they're gonna get introduced to alcohol during it. And I'm talking about little children saying, "Daddy, what's this? Just drink this, son. It'll numb the pain." I was just at Mercedes for an event, and they said, "Ben, why are you standing here?" I just want to know what it feels like to stand in the end zone, because the Falcons definitely will not. They will never get this far down the field. It is not possible. Even listen, because we go out there in the offseason and we get a guy coming off an Achilles tear, and we give him $150 million, and his name is Kirk. We're gonna lose, and we're gonna do it on purpose. That is the life of a Falcons fan. People, thank God for the break. Even though Ronald Jr. is out for the year on a torn ACL.
God, that's painful, man. I'm with. Look, but y'all two, dadgummit, this is awesome show. And both of y'all, and when we hear the music come up, that means it's time to go. It's kind of like the Johnny Carson show. Brenden will do that. But the thing that's so exciting about this is, I go back to that article by Dennis Dodd. When he was on the show a few weeks ago, he had talked to Reggie Bush. I mean, he's actually, he's a real reporter. Franz is talking to these guys. Ben, you're talking to these guys. I'm getting to talk to people. When you talk to them, it's a lot different than what you heard about them. I heard a great comment by a reporter one time before an NFL game, a sideline reporter. Someone said, well, you don't ask someone about the guy that's possibly injured. You ask him. That's how you get information. And, talk about the way information is transferred and processed. These rivalries, these rivalries today, Texas A&M. I mean, you talk about hatred, but Florida, Georgia, that's football aristocracy. That really is. I mean, Steve Spurrier was 11-1 against Georgia. Vince Dooley had his run. But rivalries are not just in football. They're in every sport. And I think about, man, you really rattled my mind. 2001, I remember when Damon Duvall out of Chattanooga, Red Banks High School, kicked that winning field goal in the wind to beat number 1 ranked Florida in 2001. Ben, you were on that team. That was crazy. And then the next week struggled, I think, in overtime to beat Louisiana Tech. I mean, it's just, that's college football. That's what people forget about, is you're dealing with 18 to 23-year-olds. As a father of 2 boys and 2 girls, I mean, 3 Auburns and 1 Alabama, and Evolve for Life as a wife. And now my Gator family down here with this show that we have, Alabama and Arkansas, and there's nothing like, Franz, no one's ever said what you said a minute ago like you said it. You said Oklahoma and Texas are willing to maybe lose a couple of games a year just to be part of the SEC. That's like, I want to get on that invitation list. I want to go to one of Ben Troupe's beach parties because he's got Bob Marley and the Whalers family playing there. I want to be at Ben's because I like Ben anyway, and hopefully I'll make the cut. But
Texas is bringing Jerry Jeff Walker in, and that's a good thing.
Is Jerry? Yes. And Willie Nelson. Look,
is he still alive?
Song,
or is he like Keith Richards? He's a cadaver, and he's frozen, and they just bring him out on the stage, and they pipe in.
But Willie's in great shape. Willie's 90 years old, smokes weed daily, and Willie. When they first tried to make him big in Nashville, he wore a coat and tie. He looked like a televangelist, Put your hand on the television set and send me 1995. But Willie is unbelievable. Austin. Okay, trivia question. Who can answer this one? Which college nickname is the 40 acres?
Texas.
Anyone? No, University of Texas. University of Texas campus in Austin is on 40 acres.
Oh,
how many acres is Florida's campus? 1,500, 2,000?
I mean,
it's ginormous. I know that.
Well, I will say this. Whatever it is, it's expanding right now. I mean, the thing about Florida campus is it's expanding right now. But I just think that when we get to talk about the SEC and all these different rivalries and things of that nature, Texas and Oklahoma, no matter what they say, they want some of that. They want to say they want to be known. And we already know who the celebrity guest picker going to be for Texas. It's going to be Matthew McConaughey, Mr. All right himself, which we're going to see it. But I can't wait for Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, and Vince Young and them Texas guys, Ricky Williams and all them great Texas guys coming back saying, "Hey man, y'all struggled so much back in the day with Arkansas because that's who y'all had struggled. Y'all were struggling to beat. Now y'all get to play the Georgias and the Floridas and the Tennessees."
How about? Do you know this fight song? Who knows this? Who knows this? Who knows this one?
Texas.
That's Boomer Sooner.
Oh,
used to it.
That's right. I mean,
look. I'm looking forward to them coming because it's like this. I mean, Rob, you listen.
Yeah.
Rob, everybody
knows Auburn. Everybody knows Georgia. Everybody knows Florida. Everybody knows Alabama.
Yeah.
I was always told that everybody listen, everybody needs a rival, and you should know who they are. You need one, and you should know who they are. When you think about Oklahoma, you know what their rival was? Ratings. You know what their rival was? Eyeballs. And guess what? When Texas and Oklahoma playing each other, they get them. But they go, hey,
they do.
Texas go, why we get so many eyeballs on when we play LSU, when we played Alabama? Because you know who you playing? Muhammad Ali is considered the greatest boxer of all time. He ain't undefeated, but he's still considered the greatest by most. If you want to be in the greatest conversation, you got to come over with the greatest play. And I'm not saying listen, all the greatest play in college football. I respect every single college football player, but it's something to say when you get back and say, I wonder what it's like. That's the part as an athlete, you say, I wonder what it would have been like to have played this person or played that team. Or like as a Florida guy, I'm from Georgia, went to Florida, never played at Georgia, right? Yeah. But I got to play them. I said, well, I got to play them. So Coach Spurrier was 11-1 against Georgia. I was 2 of those wins. I never lost against Georgia. The only team in the East I ever lost to was Tennessee. Never lost to Kentucky, never lost to Vanderbilt, never lost to South Carolina, never lost to Georgia. Never lost to them guys. And I think the thing is, played Arkansas once, beat Arkansas 0-2 against Ole Miss, 1-3 against Florida State, 0-3 against Miami. So when people say you don't remember them games, yeah, the hell you do too. And you remember who won, you remember what happened. So I just say that while I got to play Peyton in the NFL, and that's when he was Peyton, by the way, people. He was Indy, and I lost to his brother twice, back-to-back years at Ole Miss. So I think for Texas and Oklahoma, while it's great to say we went undefeated because we beat Rice 28-0, that's not going. I want to know how you stack up with them boys who you thought wasn't that good, wasn't that big, wasn't that fast, wasn't that strong until they stand. Because what's the kid? The kid from South Carolina just got drafted. Quarterback
Spencer Rattler.
Spencer Rattler thought because he beat Florida at Oklahoma. Oh, I've beaten them before. What happened when he went to South Carolina? That's somewhere
totally different.
Somebody, Brenden, you just brought up something that jogs a memory. One of my first, after my family's exile to Mississippi, the Crosbys took us over. Mr. Crosby, who was my dad's boss, lived in about 3 houses down from us, and his son Robin, who's now a heart surgeon, and Mr. Crosby and my dad took us down to the opening game for LSU and Rice. And the first thing I remember coming in there is they had a cheerleader, had a platform, and he's got a microphone. They don't let him do that anymore. And he hollers, and everybody's in the stadium already. He says, "What comes out of a Chinaman's ass?" Everybody hollers, "Rice."
Oh, yeah. All right. Hey, here we go. Who knows this fight song?
Oh, you already know what that is. You already that's the
world.
That's the boys down there in G-Ville. You already know.
I get tears in the eyes of Franz
Beard. I dislike most other teams. I dislike most other teams, but I admire all the players. Like no matter where you play,
I do too.
But at the same time though, no matter what, Rob, you in the finance business. If it's a competitive business with clients and the different things. Mm-hmm. If a big time firm all of a sudden they went out of business and they say, Rob, we want to come over there with y'all. While you listen, before you sign the papers, because they used to be your rival, you're gonna say, what made you? You're gonna ask them before I signed though, what made you want to come over? Because I want to hear it. I want to hear you say, because y'all better than that. What? Y'all better. And this is the thing. It's not that. It's not that individually one team is just that much far. No one gets talent like Texas. No one recruits like Oklahoma. But if where you was good enough, you wouldn't be leaving. Yeah. But you leaving because you going, hey man, we've outpaced the rest of the Big 12. We tired of being the headliners. We want to know, can I be a headliner with a headliner? Can I still be what I am when you listen? If my daughter plays soccer and she's a part of ODP, that's the Olympic Development Program down there in Florida, right? Mm-hmm. Every time she tells me, "Daddy this and Daddy," when it come to her teammates, I go, "These are the best girls at your age group in the state of Florida." as long as you are the best at what you do, I mean, if I'm dominating everything I do, I'm just better than everybody. What happened when everybody around me is just as good, if not better than me? As Ron Zook would say, put them out there. If they supposed to be what they say they are, put us out there together. Let's see, because there ain't no running, there ain't no hiding. He used to say, I used to want to punch Phillip Fulmer in the face, not because you don't respect Phillip Fulmer. Phillip Fulmer told the announcer when we played at Tennessee to pronounce Ron Zook's last name wrong. And Ron Zook said, you know how to say my last. He said, I want to punch Phillip Fulmer in the face and that announcer in the face. I want that. I want that. That's why I used to love Ron Zook, because in his mind, he could take every coach in the SEC, future or current, even Coach O. He wanted smoke with him too, even though he wasn't a head coach then. So
Coach Zook was a big, tough son of. He was.
Man, he was. Listen. If he did lose a fight, you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to tell him he lost. He'll be on a hospital bed saying, "Let me at him again." That's your.
You're gonna have to play a full 60, guys. Look, I mean, unfortunately, we've run out of time. Awesome stuff today, but I think the point is, I'm just, I like Robert Turner. I'm just enjoying the show as the rest of us. Too bad I can only watch it live on Mondays and Tuesdays. I just want to say thanks to everybody watching this show, all of our sponsors, everybody. Bottom line, college football, this is proof, and I'm texting Dennis Dodd right now. I'm getting back on the show in the next week about this. Not even the adults can screw it up. And as y'all's man David Whitley of the Gainesville Sun said the other day on the Buddy Martin show, he goes, I think it's idiot proof. I mean, that's how great college football is. I don't care what you hear about the NIL, what you hear about the transfer portal, all that negativity out there. These gloom and doomers would have lamented the death of the candle when the light bulb was invented, and I'll have none of that on my watch. And we're going to play more of those fight songs. Friends.
In the immortal words of Oddball from Kelly's Hero, stop giving me them negative vibes, man.
That's right. Hey, only positive. You will get out of life what you accept. We live in the greatest country in the history of the world, folks. God bless America. Go out, take the gifts that you've got, and do great things to help other people. We are the most blessed people in the world. Act like it. Man up. Alpha male culture. Free speech. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. We are out of here.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.